Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Nebula series live stream for week 4. Today, we're going to have two matches coming up. We've got Leviathans facing off versus the MSU Esports team in our Div 3 matchup of the night. And then following that, we're going to head on over to Div 2 after for the normal facing off against the Fallen. I am your host slash producer slash part-time caster Caustic, and joining me for this first match, I have my co-caster Detri.
Going, Caustic?
It's going pretty good. So pretty excited here for this first matchup, Leviathans versus MSU. Little known fact, I guess you could say, I believe 4 out of the 10 players that we're seeing, at least to start off this match, are part of the media staff here at Nebula.
Yeah, we're running a little short-handed here in the production category, but that's all right. We're going to make things work with you and I here. I am interested in seeing the matchup of these guys because I don't really get to see them play that much.
True, yeah, and I guess to get us started, let's take a look at the roster for the Leviathans. So they're going to be coming in with Dab every day on the tank. You've got Dusty and Purist on the DPS side, and you've got Nyx and Elvin as the backline support. So Nyx and Elvin, both media staff members, along with Dusty. So you've got a full media staff backline. And on the side of MSU Esports, they're going to have Zay the King on the tank. You've got Torin and Caden on DPS, and you've got Metals is how I'm gonna go with that as a pronunciation, and Sign Kos Tan on the support side, who is also one of the casters for Nebula. So this is gonna be fun to see. I guess in some sense you've got some form of bragging rights on this match alongside standings.
Yeah, and you did say it right technically because that is the way to say medals in Spanish, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, what are each of these teams ranked in the standings currently?
That's a really good question. I'm actually going to check that. Also, it's funny if I got that right in how it's said in Spanish, because I do not speak Spanish. I am French. So taking a look at the standings, obviously these standings are of week 3. Leviathans are 3-0 currently, with a
second place.
Yeah, in a second place with a plus minus of +7. And Morgan State University are currently 0-3. So you've got an undefeated team here trying to keep the undefeated streak going. And we do have the first map pick for this. Obviously, it's Control. It's going to be Lijiang. It's always been Lijiang. So, yeah, I mean, Lijiang's just become the staple pick, right? I feel like the first 2 maps of the series, every time we stream, you don't have to guess. It's almost set in stone, the first 2. Lijiang.
I mean, why would anybody choose Samoa or Oasis when Lijiang's an option, right?
True. I mean, hybrid, I guess you kind of have the same argument where you can say, hey,
Yeah,
why would you play any of the others like Hollywood when you've got King's Row as an option? But
say stick with Scrims Row, you know?
Yeah. So we are going to get into the match. I'm going to let you take over a little bit here, Detri, and take the floor as we get a first look at most of these initial hero picks.
You've got it. All right, I appreciate the transition. And all right, so we see Leviathans running out on a more brawly type of composition here, with MSU running for more of a bunker. Seems like they're going to try to out-rotate, play for position, let Leviathans walk into them, and just hopefully their cast and their Genji can clean up. We got a TP out from Purist out of the Leviathan spawn. Gonna get into the choke of White Room first here. Turret's getting set up. Dusty doing some poke damage. And Zeta King is just fallen by Nyx immediately. The damage there from Dusty spraying and Dab every day just holding the front line. Too much to handle. Vortex comes out slow. Maybe they could pick the Genji. Nope. Kaden does get out of the fight. So it seems like Leviathans will have first point control here starting early.
Yeah, that first point
Was a
control
little bit of a quick fight.
Yeah, very quick fight. I mean, getting that first pick is very important, and especially with control, it gives you the opportunity to grab the space that you want to have control over to kind of keep the other team at bay.
Yeah, and we do see Orisa Gold come out a little bit early here. Dusty getting the pick on Shatlet. And Kaden trying to dash in to get Dusty, unable to find it. Dusty gets Care, finds Kaden. Elvin finding medals. And Zeta King might not be able to get out here with full beam from Purus. That will be second fight. You know,
Yeah.
it's going to be tough playing this Orisa here with how much poke that Leviathans has from Dusty on the cast, and Purus just with full beam constantly charged on the Orisa.
True, and I mean, Dusty very close to dying in that scenario, that last team fight, but was able to live. So we do see Zay switching over to the Ramatra. It's going to be interesting to see how they can adapt now, considering the Orisa wasn't working out for them at the beginning.
An early Nano and an early Kitsune from both sides. Dusty coming out with Noon. Everybody falling low on the side of MSU. Zeta King's able to find Nyx, though. Does get traded. And that would be a fight win for Leviathans with matching one support ult for one support ult.
Yeah,
However,
honestly,
Dusty did use Noon, unable to find anybody with it, but was able to, stabilize, get that damage, a little bit of damage reduction.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't hate the choice of Noon. Noon isn't necessarily going to be an ult that's going to shift a lot of fights.
Not too valuable.
So in this opportunity, I'm pretty sure they just used it so that, you get the opportunity to reload and continue in that fight and take down a player in the progress or in the process.
Yeah, 100%. And, Leviathans are trying to hold them as close as they can here. Kaden able to find Dusty early. Elvin using Coalescence. Dab every day using Nemesis. But we do see Kaden on point, as well as Shallots not able to get any picks, and that would be Kaden just dodging. And that's going to be the first point for Leviathans. Really well done by both teams. The aggression there from the split on Kaden from right side going into white room is really well done. Dusty is not going to be able to mark that Soldier too easily by himself. Soldier constant spray and Cast just reliant on aim. You gotta hit every single shot you take.
Yeah, and honestly, I do like the choice of Kaden switching over to the Soldier, locking the legs. You gotta respect it from a team point of view. I mean, your players are going to be taking damage. Going the Soldier, you do have a bit of momentum that, or at least movement speed that you're going to gain, and you also have the capability to heal your team. You can put down your healing, not orb, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, your healing pad, yeah.
Yeah, healing pad. It's going to be interesting, though, because Purist was on the sim prior, and it looks like both teams are actually going to do the TP onto the point. TP.
But no speed from Leviathans means that they will not be able to get onto the point first, but it doesn't matter. Nyx is finding Shallots early, and the Dab every day is holding the choke. Up in the face of MSU on the side of Coast. Dusty finding Kaden, Elvin finding Medals. Dusty falls to Zeta King, a little bit of a split there. Nyx is dueling Sine Cosine on the coast here, but Sine Cosine finding Elvin, Dab every day finding Zeta King. And Nyx is able to find Sine Cosine, not allowing them to get out. Really well done by the team there. A little bit of a split rotation, a little bit of split target call, but it worked out, and they were able to get those picks one by one.
Yeah, and being able to take down Sign there right at the end is very helpful for them, because that kind of staggers them a little bit, forces the team to kind of backpedal, and Dusty's going to take down the tank early.
Yeah, Dusty finding these early picks here is very, very vital for Leviathans. The constant spam, the headshot damage that you see is just, it's too much with the cast buff. Dusty getting the flash kill on Sine Cosine. I am curious to see if Dusty chooses the double flash, or if he will choose the... He does choose the double flash, not the roll. I'm a little surprised with how many headshots we see from Dusty so far. You might think he just wants to roll on cooldown, But no, Elvin finds sine cosine early with an orb. Just too much spam in this one corridor from Dab every day, followed up by an orb from Elvin. Still just holding this choke here. Leviathan's at 60% with almost every ult in the chamber. MSU, same thing. Unable to get into the TP. Orisa ult coming out. Only Kaden on point here. You have Kaden dropping wall, Nyx dropping Kitsune. Coalescence coming out from sine cosine. And they're able to get the point flip here. Really well executed there. I'm surprised that they were able to get to point, even with the Orisa Jav spin in their face. You know, Orisa Terra Surge as well.
Yeah, I mean, even with the Orisa Terra Surge kind of blocking their progress, I think they did really good in at least not panicking too bad to kind of get to the point and contest.
Yeah, you know, Dusty just has Noon with a wall blocking him. He's gonna find Zeta King as well as Sine Cosine. Elvin finding Shallots. Metals finding Dusty in return, but Purist is able to get Metals and Kaden, and that's going to be a return point flip from using Noon, Coalescence, and Simwall.
Yeah,
that
honestly,
might be it if they can get a TP to point.
Yeah, I don't hate that play. You switch the point, and with how little point progression that you have left, it's going to be a question of if the other team is able to contest in time.
They
which
do
doesn't
touch.
They are.
Dusty finds Sine Cosine though. Dab finds Shallots, and Dusty finds Kaden. Dab finding Zeta King. Elvin finding Metals, and that's just going to be a little bit of a stagger to point there, but you got to touch. So everybody's worrying about touching. Not so worried about their health. And that's just going to be the first map for Leviathans. Really well executed.
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of good from both sides of the team. You get the rare Moira play of the game as well. But yeah, I mean, on both sides, you see moments where sometimes, you know, it's arguably the right play. I mean, with the side of Leviathans kind of using a bunch of ults at the end there, it's understandable. You want to flip that point back to your side and kind of force the other team in a situation where they have to rush back to their, you know, to the point because they don't have much time left. So
yeah, you know, they did end up trading the ult, so it's perfectly fine if, you know, they're getting ult out, you know, matching ult for ult and still able to win that fight. You know, Purist with the sim wall, Dusty holding Noon, just zoning point and not allowing them to walk. It was really well done for the retake. Holding close enough to where they can't even, you know, get an efficient touch, and they do all have to flutter into the point there, one by one, just allowing Dusty to pick them off.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting to see now. MSU is going to have the map pick now, and Leviathans are obviously gonna have the side pick. Coming into hybrid, I mean, I feel like we don't have to mention or even talk about what might be the map that we see. I feel like that's just a given. I think the question
I feel like
now,
it's going to be the good old King's Row here.
Yeah, I have a feeling too. Obviously, they haven't told us yet, but it's just the most common pick. The thing that I'm curious about is if you're Leviathans, are you attacking early or are you going defense early?
Now, based on what we just saw, you know, the momentum the Leviathans put out on the first map there, you might want to keep that momentum for an attack. Try to cap with point, make MSU a little bit flustered into going into attack if they do end up capping with point, because then all they have to do is hold, you know, stall out as long as they can, you know, maybe even get a full hold on one of the points. I would keep the momentum and go attack personally.
All right, and I guess in the meantime, we do have the map pick, not necessarily the side pick yet, but we do also have some swaps coming in. So I'll show the map pick first because it's King's Row. It's always going to be King's Row. We don't need to kind of try and figure out what it might be. It's just always gonna be King's Row. But on the for swaps, we're going to start off with Leviathans. They're going to have Purist go over to the bench as Alien's going to come in to play DPS. So you do see that switch. Maybe Purist, I mean, they did show the Sim as their preferred hero kind of starting off, so maybe Sim is purist's cup of tea, and Alien is going to be coming in just to kind of play something different for this map.
Yeah.
And on the side of MSU, you're going to see King Vamp coming in replacement of Zeta King. So a tank swap for the side of MSU.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, speaking about the sim, sim is somewhat reliable on control, right?
Mhm.
However, on hybrid, it's going to be a lot harder, especially if MSU is running poke. So you gotta swap it up if Alien can play something a little bit different, like a Genji or a Tracer, maybe even a Mei, something that can just do a little bit more poke damage.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, especially with King's Row, I love Mei as a choice. I find Mei personally fits a lot more compositions than what they're really played in, but King's Row is kind of one of the maps where Mei gets to shine, and I love seeing the opportunities. The walls are always huge, in my opinion.
Yeah, and with the talk of May Freeze being added back in next season, May might be a pick that becomes more relevant,
True.
uh, more seen. But we are going to roll into King's Row here with Leviathan starting out on defense. MSU is going to be forced to go to offense, and we see the Reinhardt from King Vamp, the May from Shallots as predicted,
Mm-hmm.
and the May from Alien also as predicted
Yeah, so I
on the
guess,
side of Leviathans. Maybe May here.
yeah, our guess
May,
might have been correct.
yeah, May can just be of value here. Wall as well as just the spray with icicles. Just everything comes into play here. Just small corridors, small alleyways of play.
Mm-hmm. They
And starting in the
don't
map
give
here.
them as much wiggle room to go with, as Dab's gonna be trying to get some early damage in.
Yeah, already looking for a wall. Uses wall a little bit early there. Reinhardt just not really carrying it, just waiting it out. Now walking in. Shield is absolutely getting destroyed by Dusty on the height there. Trying to charge into Dab every day. Unable to get the pin. Able to find Alien. Falling to 1 HP though. Will he get the care? Yes. Wow, the care from Metals there. And cosine. Charging back in. Caden finds Dab every day. Nick's unable to full care everybody at once. Dusty, Nyx, and Elvin are just now stuck on this high ground. Got to make a move here or just rotate out. Doesn't seem like
Yeah,
Leviathans will have
honestly,
another touch here.
the first two picks that you get, being both the Mei and the tank, are really
Yeah.
rough to see. Really rough for
Really.
the side of Leviathans.
100%. And that's really fast cap from MSU. Really well done. Really well executed. You gotta spam this Reinhardt shield and try to just focus him out a little bit. And you did see that from Dusty at the start there by holding that height. Maywall coming out early by Alien, finding the Reinhardt in a bad position, but still unable to get the pick. Nyx finding sign cosine. Everybody falling low on the side of MSU. Maybe huge missiles. Huge missiles. Alien finding King Vamp. Coalescence coming out from Metals. Alien finding Metals in during Cole. Dab every day is going to form onto Shallots here. Unable to get the pick. They're gonna kite out here.
Yeah, they're gonna backpedal, but you kind of, I understand where Metals is trying to go with using that coalescence to keep the team alive, but just a little bit too late, not able to heal the team in time, and the tank dies in the process.
Yeah, and we do see a Juno ult coming out, a freeze coming out, and a noon and a nano coming out, as well as a beat. Everything coming out 2 for 2 on each team. Yeah, I guess 3 for 2.
Yeah.
Both support ults for Leviathans, B and both DPS ults for MSU. Dusty's gonna be dueling sign cosine. Not gonna be able to find the pick. Will be able to get out, however. That's a good fight from MSU. slight overuse of abilities, but they do guarantee the fight win. That's the important part. We do see Shatter coming out on Alien early here. Alien is able to survive from the care from the back line. King Vamp does die from a little bit of an overextension with Morris sitting on cart. Sine Cosine getting picked off by Dab every day. Alien getting the headshots in on May.
Yeah, you've got to give credit
Finding
to your
Kaden.
back line there if you're Alien, because they're the only reason that you lived through that slam. And
Yeah, 100%. Really, really good care.
yeah.
You know, if I'm MSU, I'm not putting my Moira on cart, though. Allowing my Reinhardt to play a little bit more of an aggressive play style. And, you know, stay in the fight there, guarantee those kills, maybe even build Coalescence a little bit faster, get it mid-fight. But we do see them taking this right lane, trying to force a corridor fight for maybe a Coalescence. But
Middles
Dusty
does
just
have
getting
the
so much
Coalescence.
value. Uses Coalescence to find Dusty, but Kaden gets the kill instead. Still able to full send. Kaden finding Elvin. Coalescence does wear off. A little hectic. Sign finding Alien. As well as Nyx. Both backline are dead. Dab every day falls to Metals, and that's going to be, I think, the second point here for MSU.
Yeah, that should be the second point. I don't see the Leviathans being able to contest in time. I understand the ult use from Metals. I might have tried to wait out on it a little bit. I feel like you might have been able to win that fight even without the ult, but I mean, using the ult at least kind of seals the deal, so not the worst play.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I mean, you know, with the
understandable.
presence that Dusty is making, you just want to get that pick, right? And we do see the Noon coming out from Kaden finding Elvin. King Vamp getting the pin on Alien. Kaden finding Dusty. Dab every day finding Cosine. Kaden as well finding Nyx. And that's going to be just Dab every day left on point. MSU still not pushing, but does get the team kill.
Ooh, that's a really bad stagger too, because Dab every day doesn't respawn with the team, so now the team is without their tank. They're gonna have to,
Yeah, you know,
kind of buy as much time as they can for their tank to come back to be able to take this fight and potentially try and get some space to contest this payload.
Yeah, and Leviathans really does need to use his DPS ults, and here we go. We see Alien using Freeze, King Vamp using Shatter, using both DPS ults at once after the calm. That's crazy. You see Beat coming out from Sine Cosine. So Shatter and Beat come out from MSU, but both DPS ults from Leviathans. They do
Shallot's
guarantee
staggered. Yeah.
the kills. Yeah, Shallot's is staggered, but
Ooh.
not without finding Elvin first.
You know, I gotta respect finding that pick there. I mean, most
You know,
players
most people
would take
don't
that
expect
as, well,
the-
I'm dead. Yeah.
Yeah, most people don't expect the May Ice Block damage freeze perk, you know.
Yeah, and
Personally,
I mean-
I think the slow icicles are a little bit better, but if you know, you can just use that into somebody, you're gonna find the picks, you're gonna find a lot of damage. Juno coming out from Nyx here. Dab every day finding Sine Cosine, still walking past, gets walled off, doesn't matter, is able to get King Vamp as well as Shallots, and we do see a late Coalescence coming out from Metals, trying to stabilize the team, but unable to. Just a little late there.
Yeah, honestly, I don't hate using the Juno ult there. I find maybe it would have been better if you were able to use the Nano, but Elvin
You know,
was just
you were
coming
down
up on it,
Elvin,
so,
yeah. You were also, Elvin was just walking back from spawn. You see Dab every day using Nemesis, finding Kaden, Kaden finding Dusty, Metals finding Elvin, Dab finding King Vamp, Sine Cosine finding Nyx, Alien finding Metals. It's band for band here on the kills. Dab every day pushing into Shallots here after Shallots is able to find Alien. Dab every day does end up getting the pick and cleaning it up on Sine Cosine. You know, really good ults from Leviathans with the Ram just walking the back line. Really good freeze from Shallots. Unfortunately, it's just a little bit of a split with the Ram being a nuisance to your backline.
Yeah, honestly, if I'm the MSU Esports team right now, I'm taking note of how Dab has been playing on this Ram. I think this is the second time that I've seen them pop ult in the backline while the rest of their team kind of dies in the background.
Yeah,
So-
and you do see a freeze is able to get it off on King Vamp, but Noon making it so Leviathans can't walk. King Vamp just charging in, gets stickied by the vortex from Soj. Dusty finding the pick on Kaden with OC as well as Sine Cosine. Dab cleaning up with on Shallots, and Alien getting the pick on Metals. Really well done. Really good flip there. You know, Nano and OC for Noon and Beat.
Yeah, and honestly, this is an interesting situation for the Leviathans, because you know that if you've been ult tracking, you know that King Vamp is going to be coming up on that Rhine ult any second, and Shatter. Oh, okay,
And
they take
that's a
him down
big
beforehand.
pick. That is a big pick, but using this Ramble, I'm unsure if that was the play. You already get the team kill. You want to just live. You know, they still might have a touch, and if you are ult tracking, you know they're coming up on 3.
Yeah, I guess
They
the
do
big
get the
thing
touch.
now,
Somebody was able to touch. Big slightly big shatter on Alien there,
Sema, yeah.
but Alien does get the wall off, so it's not as big as you think. Metal's trying to use Coalescence to find a pick, stall as long as they can on point. Alien's walling off Shallots, and that's going to be the attack from MSU.
Yeah, honestly, very solid attack for MSU. I mean, you saw at the end there, you did have Dab every day kind of popping that ult, going into the back line of MSU, even though the point is all the way at the back. I do find I was kind of curious to see between Dab and Alien who was going to try and really focus on making sure that the Shatter wasn't going to be able to get an insane amount of value, but before I was even able to mention it, they took down King Vamp before they could really have that big opportunity. So, I mean, I guess you don't have to worry about the ult being in play when the ult carrier dies prior to being able to use it. So, I guess
Exactly, and that's the purpose of going first, going fast. You know, trying to make it so they can't pop these ults. Make it more difficult, so if they do pop the ults, it's going to be off of point, so you can just kite back to point, you know, get another fight. But now both teams don't have ults, and we do see a pause from the side of Leviathans.
Yeah, so I do see for the pause, apparently a player's mic has stopped working, so they're gonna fix that really
lovely.
quick. Yeah, lovely. I mean, an understandable pause. You got to make sure that you can communicate with your team. That's basically a necessity.
Yeah. Now, how broken are we talking? Stop working to the point where they just can't talk, or where they can't hear the game either? Because then that's doubling down on how bad it could be.
Yeah, that's the big question. I mean, fingers crossed that it's just a scenario where a mic's a little bit staticky. Obviously, we can't speak on what the situation is. I mean, the worst scenario is your player no longer can speak. And you really don't want that, especially if one of those players is, I mean, any of them, to be fair. I was going to originally say just like the backline would be the worst, but I mean, even if it's your DPS, that's really tough if you can't coordinate ult usage and, you know, keeping track of ults and all of that stuff. I mean, that's kind of a rough situation no matter what role you play.
Right, and we do so going into this second half of King's Row here. Leviathan's going to be on the attack now. Has to get to at least 2.5. You know, at least 2.5 points. Right, that's what it was. It was 2-0 for MSU.
Yep.
You know, good hold by Leviathans, but also great first cap from MSU, and I think that's what allowed them to get as much time as they did, or get as much points as they did there, as much space. You know, the first cap was really just almost instantaneous. You find the tank, you find the Mei. It was really well done, really well executed. Leviathans did try to hold that height, but now I'm curious to see if we will see a height push from the Leviathans, or if we're going to see a just rush to point, flip the map type of situation. You know, I believe in, if you're on defense, you want to play low ground with your team. You know, you can start on height, but drop down if needed, and then just flip the map as soon as they're coming in, right? Flip to other side of statue, and then it's like you're attacking them, right? It's the best way to go about it. The best way to retake a point. You know, you have more cover over by statue, as well as more angles of poke.
True. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. I'm curious if we're going to see a Widow at any point. I mean, we see it fairly often in other scenarios when we're playing King's Row, but I mean, the Widow off of the tax spawn has always been something fun to see. I mean,
Yeah.
you kind of get the opportunity, hit your shot or don't, you can switch off right away.
Right, exactly.
So it
Go
doesn't
for an
seem like
early
they're going to
pick.
be doing that, but we do see Alien on the Genji as opposed to the Mei, and they switch
Nope.
back.
Caster can't speak.
Yeah, caster curse.
But we do have a big fire strike coming out from Aliens. Everybody on Leviathan's already weak. Unsure how that's possible, but Caden's finding Dusty. King Vamp is stuck on this Mei wall, but it doesn't matter because Metals is just holding Hotel, getting the care out, and Dab every day gets walled and picked. Really
Yeah,
good pick.
This is very very helpful for the side of MSU. Not only, I mean, obviously you want to win the team fight, but considering you just switched over from attack to defense, being able to stop them on that first push attempt is going to help with just having some momentum on your side. As Alien does
we
go
do
over
see
to
a Widow,
but doesn't get the shot and
Nope.
switches again.
Swaps. Yeah, so at this point, if they're just all going to be playing stacked on the Reinhardt, you just want to go for a Reinhardt bust machine here. That sounds, a little crazy, but makes sense. Go Hanzo for Storm Arrows, go Bastion, go Cast for, Fan the Hammer, whatever it may be.
What about Zen?
Elvin gets the pick on Shallots with Orb. Dab every day getting the pick on King Vamp. Caden in the backline finds Nyx, but does get picked off by Elvin. Sine cosine finding Dusty. While Elvin is battling Caden. Chasing the kill there.
Yeah, and
it's a duel.
like...
But Elvin does have Orb,
yep.
and Sine cosine is unable to do anything, Aiming versus, not aiming. No shade, but it's definitely a hard 1v1 to take there.
Yeah.
Really well done by Elvin, though.
Understandable.
Finishing that off, getting the kill a little late, staggering them. You want to walk early here. They're down one support. But Dusty does get picked by a double dink from Caden. Dab every day holding this pressure still. Getting King Vamp 1. Shallot's falling to 1 as well. Uses Cryo. Nyx finding Caden with a 6-ball. Dab every day finding Shallots. Popping Nemesis. Coalescence coming out from Elvin just to live. Gets pinned by King Vamp. Dab every day getting another pick from Nemesis. Alien finding Metals. And they do still get the cart space as well as a team wipe besides Sine Cosine.
Yeah, and I found it was funny while you were mentioning the whole, Rhine, targeting that Rhine as your first kind of concern. You're mentioning a bunch of heroes, then we see Nyx go over to the Zenyatta, which honestly,
yeah, it's I
kind of understand.
Yeah, no, it's a good pick. You can blow up the Reinhardt. You can, he has to go into cover to get the Discord orb off of him. It doesn't allow him to walk in your team's face as easy. Or if he does, he just has to hold shield. Dusty pops OC. Metals pops Kitsune. Transcendence coming out from Nyx. Dusty has to get in that to get the care. Doesn't and gets picked by Shallots, but it seems like Leviathans are still just on King Vamp. Finding the pick on Caden and King Vamp. Shallot's just holding this height. Dab every day finding Sine Cosine. Shallot's finding Alien. And, Shallot's is just on this height in the backline, just poking Leviathans. But it's just going to end up being a stagger here.
You got to put into consideration, though, Shallot's has the freeze. So I guess they're really just trying to stay in that fight as long as they could in case their team could get back. Because if your team's able to kind of get with you, why not use the freeze? Am I the only one seeing this?
No, I'm seeing that. It's, Ramacha.
Yeah, Overwatch,
that is
AAA game.
Overwatch, yep. Shatter coming out doesn't find anybody? No, it doesn't. But King Vamp gets picked after finding Alien, Caden finding Elvin, Dusty finding King Vamp, Shallots and Caden just clean it up. Really good fight from MSU using Shatter for the guaranteed fight win. You still have both DPS ults in the chamber. The Leviathans only have Ramacha Nemesis to work with here. But they could just stack their ults and hope MSU keeps using theirs one at a time, and then they can just ult dump, cap the point.
Yeah, that's the big thing. I mean, they
Caden
have
finds
so much
Dusty
time.
early. Freeze coming out. Wall. Alien gets Shallots. Shallot's not thinking that they need to use Cryo. Caden finds Nyx and Alien, though. King Vamp finding Dab every day. And that's going to be another team kill for MSU with only one one down on their side.
Yeah,
Again,
that's
really good fight, but
mhm.
you know, you do use another ult, as well as Leviathan's not using any, just stacking their ults up, trying to force as many as they can out of MSU.
I'd argue the Mei ult is honestly one of the more powerful ults that you have in your arsenal at that point.
100%.
It can stop a full
And
push.
here's Noon. Here's Kitsune. Here's Coalescence. Here's Transcendence. Shallots finds Dusty. Caden finds Elvin. Dab Every Day finds 2. Nyx finds Caden. And Shallots, Dab Every Day adds another, finding Shallots to the mix. And that's going to be 3 ults from Leviathans for 2 from MSU, but they might just end it here. No, Metals gets a touch, not without dying pretty early first. But Freeze comes out, making this Juno ult not too much value. And that's going to be second map of King's Row.
Ooh, honestly, really well fought on the side of both teams. I feel like just having the Mei ult not at your disposal there kind of sealed the deal in my eyes. But
100%. I think you're right, and I think that using the Noon, you want to use it to just kind of zone, not really walk, try to force stuff out of them, because as you notice, they did use Cole and Transcendence the second they used Noon. You know, you want to just be able to kite back to your team, and then you guys can get another fight as a whole if you guys kite out. This time they're down 3 ults, you know? So it could have been pretty valuable if they used it for more of a zoning instead of an offensive push. But that would be that's second maps for Leviathan. Second map for Leviathans here. 2-0 in the series. I don't think either team played that poorly. I think this was a great map from both teams, and I think that it just, you know, the aggression and the ult, you know, the ult build up from Leviathans at the end there was just too much for MSU to handle. But that does lead us to our 5-minute bio break, I believe.
yep,
All right, so we have a
always
5-minute
happens
bio break in
between.
between Hybrid and Flashpoint.
Yep. So
And
we are going to have
go
some switches as well for when you guys come back. So that will be fun to see. But yeah, in the meantime, go use the bathroom, take the opportunity, get some snacks, get some water,
make a peanut butter and jelly, you know,
yeah,
whatever it may be. Grab
whatever you need to
some
do.
juice. Wink, wink, some juice. And we'll see you guys in 3 minutes now.
Yeah, well, give or take. Yeah, we
Give
will
or
be
take.
back. All right, everybody, welcome back. The teams have just finished up the bio break. We do have a couple switches coming in, or swaps, and we do have the map pick. It is going to be Suravasa. Suravasa honestly has been picked a lot more frequently than NJC in my eyes for at least the streamed matches, so not necessarily too surprising of a pick. But just going over the switches, I'm going to start off with MSU because they didn't have as many switches. We aren't going to see I Gets Tay coming in to replace Metals on the support line. And then on the side of Leviathans, they're the ones with most of the swaps in my eyes. You've got one Boop coming in on the tank. You've got Eat Yo Bacon replacing Elvin on the support line. And Pyrrhus is coming back in for this Flashpoint map. So Alien goes back to the bench. Dab and Elvin are going to be on the bench as well. Coming into the Flashpoint map in a 2-0 scenario so far. So going to be interesting to see because it's really... This is crunch time if you're MSU. You've got to come out with a win on this map to at least prolong this to potentially have potentially be able to reverse sweep.
Yeah, and we did also see Caden's character selection on the page for showing off the roster, right? We saw the Genji. So, and previously we've been seeing Caden on the cast, so I'm curious to see if we're gonna see it on the Genji. And yes, we do, because this is a Genji map. This is a Genji map. This is 100% a Genji map. Queen as well, and one Boop on the Doom.
Yeah, I was not even gonna mention the Leviathans because they're definitely trolling us. I mean, Widow, Pharah, Doomfist, and then we also had
full swap here.
Full swap minus the Doom. Now we're going over to the Wrecking Ball. All right,
yeah. So we don't see a TP coming out from either side. Both teams taking the right lane here, with one Boop taking the left, trying to get that, that angle for a slam and a grapple. Just forcing Caden out of position of high ground. Pyrrhus going in with Dig, trying to find a target, finds Queen, and Lucio is on the Lucio, but gets the pick. Shallots finds Dusty in the meantime. Caden getting the deflect kill on Pyrrhus. Shallots might be able to find Nyx here, and does. Eat Yo Bacon finding Caden. The real problem here is who's going to do all the damage to the ball, right? You don't have much to damage that. Ball's just going to kind of be a menace as long as they want on point. King Vamp getting poked out by Eat Yo Bacon right now. Still no point cap from either side. One Boop just keeping the time here on point. Able to find King Vamp. Dusty following up on it. On sign cosine here on the Lucio. Gets the pick. And that will be probably first point cap for Leviathans here. Not without a contest from Shallots, though.
Ooh,
Dusty
Caden
does find
fall relatively late there. But I mean, that's a pretty good amount of time to leave the point without any team really gaining any progression. So a lot of ults are going to get built up just from that one really prolonged fight for point control to begin.
Yeah, like I was saying, Eat Yo Bacon finds sign cosine, but nobody's going to be able to really mark one Boop here. You don't have enough damage to kill this ball, and ball's just going to constantly be a menace to your backline, be a menace to everybody else, force the backline out, and then go back in for the Queen. One Boop does find King Vamp, Shallots does find Dusty, but that's still Leviathan's point pressure here down their tank. The MSU won't be able to make a push.
Yeah, and honestly, if you're MSU, what is the switch that you go for to try and deal with this Wrecking Ball? You do see them switch over to the Winston.
You just want to play cast. Honestly, you want to play cast for the flash. You want to play cast for the fan. One Boop finding Shallots with the mines. Really good mine positioning. King Vamp does get picked by Dusty. One Boop finding the melee kill on Caden. And that's going to be first point in favor of Leviathans here. Yeah, as we were saying, Caden, I want to see Caden on the Genji. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's going to work too well into the ball. One Boop does end up finding I Gets Tay at the end of there.
If you want to switch over to the cast, who are you going to have switch over? You're going with the Venture or the Genji? Because Arguably, in my eyes, if you don't want to switch over to the cast, Sombra's a decent pick.
Yeah, you know, if you want to keep with dive, you can play Sombra. If you're looking for oh, 3-man blade from Dusty,
Ooh, slicing and
finding
dicing.
Caden, King Vamp, and Sine Cosine. But yeah, as I was saying, if you want to stick with the full dive here, then you want to swap the Venture to the Sombra. If you are looking to have a hit scan, then you still might want to swap the Venture.
True.
Just because Genji can just go in with Winston whenever they want, as well as get out. Venture relies on cooldowns a little bit too much, and we see 3 ults coming out from MSU. Only one from Leviathans, but MSU does get Nyx and Purist. Finding Eat Your Bacon, no support on the side of Leviathans here. All just going to turn the ball, and one boop will be able to get out with shield. Yes, and that's going to be a point flip in favor of MSU. You know, they did use 3 ults there, and that's pretty brutal for it. Leviathans only used orbital, but King Vamp does get the late pick on Dusty. That's going to be very big here. A nice recovery on point, get as much percentage as they can. Big slam from one boop, but you know, nobody follow it up.
Yeah, honestly.
Holding the staircase. Interesting.
Yeah, interesting play. I mean, they were able to see most of the team set up in that kind of area, so
Yeah,
not the worst
and
option.
Dusty
but
finds Caden. Kitsune coming out from Nyx early on. Purist finding Sine Cosine. One boop finding I gets Tay. King Vamp using Primal just to survive, get out, and Leviathans are able to get the point flip. 69% to 50 so far.
yeah, I mean, honestly, interesting to see how this is going to go, as Nick seems to be the primary target here, but they aren't going to get the kill.
And that's King Vamp just kind of overextending a little bit. Shallots does use, you know, Tectonic Shock or whatever it's called. Does unable to find a pick. One boot finding Sine Cosine with mines. Does get picked by Dusty. You know, that's just a smorgasbord of the enemy in front of you. You're not going to be able to survive that one. Caden able to get out, probably with the help of the Mega. Who is on point right now? Oh, King Vamp and
Sin or Sign.
and Sine Cosine. Tangent. Caden finding Purist. Caden finding Nyx. Putting in work.
Oh,
How? Wait, hold on. That looked like a slash and a dash to me, and that Juno lives? That's a little crazy to me.
apparently.
But Dusty does clean it up, you know, and that's going to be second point for Leviathans. That was really well done. You definitely want to watch where you're playing on the Winston here. You kind of want to force out the wrecking ball, get as much poke as you can, then go in as a unit instead of chasing by yourself into the Kiriko, who still has Suzu and TP.
I'm going to say this before it ends up potentially not working out, just because I really like this swap over to the Pharah, going more aerial. And what did
Yeah, you know, Beat just unfortunately doesn't hit Shallots, doesn't hit I gets Tay. Both of them are fall. King Vamp swapped over to the Roadhog. Nyx is able to find the Lucio. But yeah, you know, I agree with the Pharah pick. I think it's great. Nobody can really mark it besides the Juno, right? At least effectively. And
right?
it's just more of playing as a team instead of split pushing. Eat Your Bacon finding Caden. Dusty finding I gets Tay. Purist finding Sine Cosine. And Dusty finding the Roadhog King Vamp. Really good orbit, really good early orbit. You know, you still have 3 other ults to work with. MSU has nothing as they just keep swapping and swapping. You know, they're trying to make something work here.
Yeah, they do switch over to the cast, which you did say was a decent switch. The Hog is an interesting choice. They do take down Nyx early, but
take down Nyx, but the mines are just too much. Dusty finds Zygons Tay. Purist finding King Vamp. Shallots does get Dusty, but one boop does get Caden. You know, there's just too many ults there. The other 3 ults from Leviathans come out, and MSU is just gonna crumble just like that. I'm unsure if they're gonna get a touch here. It seems like somebody might have to die for it.
will be able to.
Shallots is able to, but will die for it. King Vamp does find Purist, and Dusty does find Shallots. One boop finding Sine Cosine. King Vamp using Whole Hog on point, just trying to focus this ball. Dusty's able to find Caden. Eat Your Bacon finding I gets Tay. and it's just going to be King Vamp left. And that's going to be it. Oh, no. Sign is on point.
Just
And that's
contesting
going
as
to
long
be
as
it.
they can.
Yeah,
Nafar's not going to be able to make it on time.
Really good pressure. Just unfortunately, you have to lose somebody early fight because you need to touch, right?
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate from MSU, but really well done by Leviathans all around. You know, one boop just being a menace.
Honestly, if you're MSU and you're coming off of this match, right? You're coming back to, I guess, the drawing board, or even just sitting down with the coaches at the end of the day. You can at least come back from come from this and say, hey, we have some really good fundamentals to work with. You know, of all the matches, this is arguably one of the ones that you're gonna want a VOD review, especially considering Suravasa and King's Row. King's Row, you kept it really close. It was a really close fight. Could have went either way, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Suravasa, similar heroes at the start, and I guess coming in with a coach, you have the ability to kind of sit there and say, all right, what went wrong? What did we have to do to give ourselves more of a chance to win this Flashpoint map? And kind of learn from that and take that opportunity to come out with maybe a better idea of what to do the next time you potentially face the Leviathans. I mean, we're only week 4. There's still a decent amount of time. You can really shift how the season is going at any point. And I mean, come playoffs, I assume, yeah, playoffs will be obviously something. Come playoffs, you know, you're going to be facing at least one of these teams in playoffs. So this is your opportunity to get the notes that you need, get the information, and kind of prepare for those playoff questions.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this will be a good thing to learn off of for honestly both teams, because Kings Row was a quick first point loss on the side of Leviathan. So I think both teams can, you know, go back and review review some of these maps here and just benefit from what they take away. But overall, what do we think for MVP? I mean, just thinking about, you know, play of the games, you see the rare Moira play of the game.
True. You do see the rare Moira play of the game. This is a tough one.
Yeah,
this is
I'm
really
not sure.
tough.
I would say Dusty, but I don't know. I feel like that's too much of an easy pass. You know, I feel like that's just a gimme, right? You know, Dusty's just cleaning up everything, playing the cast. You know, really well done. I'm not downplaying it.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
if we're talking about, you know, an MVP that might not get the grace of light too often, I really do think that the Moira v Moira, you see the Coalescence coming out from Elvin getting to play the game. You see Elvin coming out with just honestly some really good Coalescence v Coalescence fights as well. Just using them at good times, keeping the team up. I think I vote Elvin personally.
You vote
I mean,
Elvin? Okay.
What do you think?
I mean, this is kind of the tough situation. It's hard to vote considering how many of the players are media staff. I don't want to sound biased, you know.
No, I know, 100%. That's why I also didn't vote Dusty.
Yeah, it's tough.
I would also say Pierce also has a high chance with the sim plays at this on control coming in for Suravasa and able to play the Venture as well. Just disrupting the gauges from MSU. So it's between Elvin or Pierce for me. So what do you think? I'll let you do the decide.
I'll kind of throw you a bit of a curveball here because I had different people in mind. I mean, Dusty popped off. Dusty, obviously, I feel. I mean,
cop out answer.
It's the cop out answer. Yes, but let me keep going. Let me cook. Let him cook. I agree with you on the support MVP, but I'm gonna switch it from the Moira to the Kiri. I think Nyx puts in a
Yeah,
lot of
no, true.
value. I mean, the cleanses. I mean, you do see the
100%,
Moira play of the game, but I feel like just the
Yeah, no, I agree with that as well. I think the
yeah,
Knicks just did not die a lot. And,
yeah,
having a support constantly there to carry you, um, you know, good positioning, good movement, good cooldown usage, I can back that answer.
yeah. And I mean, that's not to say that the Moira died a lot. They didn't. But I
Right,
mean,
right.
even when you look at it, I can kind of point back to some of the fights where even without an ult use, Nyx gets a pick off of just a headshot kunai, and like,
Yeah,
it kind of
forcing the
switches the
Winston
fight.
out too. You saw in
Yeah.
Saravasa force the Winston to jump, survives with the Suzu, and is able to get the pick on the Winston early for that second point cap on Saravasa. So you know what? I agree with you. I think that Nyx will be the MVP for
All
tonight's match.
right. Well, there we have it. I don't know. This might be the first support MVP of the streams. I'm gonna have to like write this stuff down because I
Yeah,
keep
it's always a
forgetting.
DPS or a tank. You got to
Yeah.
show some love to the supports there, keeping you guys afloat during these
Mm-hmm.
hectic fights. They're the ones doing the ult tracking. They're the ones, full carrying you, especially when you're on Genji, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't know.
but
I've
yeah,
always been the kind of the player to lean more towards a support MVP, but I mean, more
yeah, it's
often
it's
than
all
not,
it's very easy to
yeah.
say a DPS, the person who's getting all the picks. It's very
Mm-hmm.
easy to say a tank, the person who's making a lot of space. But it's not so easy to see all the difference that a support's making in a game. And I think
Yeah.
today it just was from all the supports we saw from Leviathans. So I think that we'll go with Nyx.
Yeah. That works with me. So
But
yeah.
that will be it for tonight's match of Leviathans versus MSU. Leviathans winning 3-0. Um, we have a Division 2 match, Normal versus the Fallen, here later
Mm-hmm.
at 9:30 p.m. EST. Make sure you guys come back for that one. But for now, I am Detri.
Yeah, and this has been Caustic, the producer, host, part-time caster. Um, I'll still be behind the scenes for the next match, but if I'm not mistaken, next match we're gonna have a fun dynamic duo, considering they just played against each other. We're gonna have Sin and Dusty. Or
Oh,
Sign and
on the
Dusty.
yeah, on the casting booth.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, we will be back relatively soon. I mean, give or take 20 minutes, you never know. In the meantime, obviously grab some snacks, some water, relax. I mean, take the opportunity and get ready for this next match. This is going to be fun. So, we will see you in a bit.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the second game of the night for the end of the weekend with GF2 coming up for Normal versus the Fallen. And for your casters, Sign was not able to make it, so Detry will be sticking around while I am going to be filling in for Caustic. And so now, I mean, it's Div 2. Best ranks we got in the server.
Yeah, you know,
I
I'm a little
mean,
surprised that we don't have any Div 1 teams this season, but that might change in the upcoming seasons of Nebula. You know, this is our
yeah.
first run here, so.
Mhm. And now coming in for the rosters real quick. Normal, not really so much whatsoever here. I've watched a few of their games. As you have Creep on tank, Zafan and the Brad on DPS, Zendai fan and 10 on the support line. And these guys are not normal. They play like Weaver, Soldier, and Ball. Crazy. And now coming in for their opponents, the Fallen, it's going to be Kynan on tank, Dex and Benno on DPS, and Dom and Wander on the support lineup. So it should be an interesting series here coming into
Yeah,
Div
you know,
2 as
we have
Oop.
first place against what, third or fourth? Fourth
Let me
place?
go check the standings.
I think I
I will
think
go
that's what it
check.
was.
I do not know, but
Fourth
also,
place, yeah, first place versus fourth place. As of
oh,
week week number, Dusty, you know more than me. The week 3, yeah. Thank you,
wait, no, we're week
God.
4. We're week
But
4.
yeah,
Week
this
4.
is week 4,
This is
yes.
week
But
4.
as of week 3, the
Oh,
standings were
my bad.
Normal being first place and the Fallen being fourth. So this will be an interesting game. I mean, it's still relatively similar scores. 3-0 on Normal being undefeated, and Fallen being 2-1, only with one game being going down. So this could be a
Gonna be in the
very close battle here.
Lijiang Tower. I mean, also, this map is not unexpected at all. Like, I think the entire server tends to just lock it in on Lijiang. I mean, last match, me and Leviathans did it, and I mean, it did somehow worked out as. I mean, it's going to be. I'm expecting the ball from normal, maybe the soldier, and that's normal for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect besides that. Like maybe a brawl. We saw Queen from Kanan.
So it seems like that Normal favors more of a dive comp, huh? With the
Yeah,
ball, with
you could call it that.
just a soldier, you know, poking
Mainly,
whatever ball slams, right?
yeah. There's also like a few Torb glimpses. They're very peculiar to say the least.
Very diverse in what they're able to play. And
Yeah,
yeah, we see. I'm not even gonna go over what they're playing right now because I'm not sure if this is actually what it's gonna be based on what you know, you predicted. And yeah, you see the Moira coming out, the ball coming out from Normal. The
yeah.
Soldier and the Cast double hit scan, as
And
well as on the Fallen, they're going for full dive with the Tracer, Genji, and Doom.
Doom into ball, Detry. I'm actually. This matchup is gonna be a little weird. I'm not gonna lie. As it's going to be a quick engage coming in from the side of normal, as it's going to be
Oh,
Kainan fighting
wow.
a 4-man punch, I think, if I counted correctly, as 2 already go down for the side of normal, and the Fallen are most likely going to win this first fight here with not any trouble after a nice charged punch coming in from Kainan there.
Yeah, you know, the full dive would be a menace to both the double hit
Oh,
scan.
Brad.
We have 3 challenging Brad right now in the corner. Creep finding Wander and Zaf finding Dex.
Alright, bit of a Tracer diff there, as this fight's still going to be going in a little more as Beto is going to fall to 1 HP, 10 gets a quick melee, and I feel like we're just going to have a lot of like fights going back and forth without no real endpoint, as we have Kaiman Stalin, and it's going to be the flip finally for normal as you get 18% there for the side of the Fallen, and now it's just getting more chaotic as I think it's finally going to be in disengage from the Fallen here, Detry.
Yeah, you know, you have full dive against semi-dive, and, you know, Doom, the charge punch is just going to be very hard for Moira to do anything here.
Yeah, and the
Constantly going to
Brad's
be
able
out of
to
the
find
fight, but
Dom.
Brad's able to find Dome?
I think it's Dom. That's what it said on the roster sheet.
Gotcha.
And oh, I thought Kainan was about to chuck Brad off the map. Not to be so. And it's going to just be more fights as Zendai and 10 are going to get the cleanups there. A little bit of support gaming. As Benno is going to go over to the Summer now to shut down Creep most likely. As I just like to say both support lineups are Lucio Moira right now.
Yeah, you know, this is really interesting because it feels like everybody is so split from each other, and you know they're all on different targets. They're all like taking 1v1s like the Lucio v Lucio currently. However, Brad came in and ruined that. But now you have a Sombra v Tracer.
The Brad finds another Helix rocket kill. 10's gonna go down. Kinda has to Meteor Strike, but there's gonna be a Cole to keep him alive. Might have been a little bit of a miscommunication there as the Doomfist just leaves and Cole Ellison comes out. The Brad, he barely dodges the punch coming from Kynan. That probably would have sent him back to the spawn room as Dex still has his pulse bomb online as long as Zafan. Both Tracers have pulses online. It's gonna be the first one coming out from Zafan, not finding its target as Benno is gonna be doing a good job peeling through this backline on the Sombra. As point is still not flipped yet, Normal getting close to 90%, but Brad gets hit by the pulse bomb. Creep's falling low, and the rest of Normal should not be able to survive this as the backline is getting diced up by the side of the Fallen. And it's finally gonna go to their flip, but that fight took so long. That's 92% for Normal.
Yeah, really good pulse on Brad there from Dex. You know, you gotta pick that soldier early just so your backline can live a little bit long enough to get in the fights with you. You know, you can't have soldier beaming you as well as a ball disrupting you.
Yeah. And now Benno's getting closer and closer to this EMP, and I really think you should be able to utilize that, especially against Creep here. If he goes for an engage, you just need to bide your time a little longer. As Benno's gonna get forced out and burst it down. No EMP for this fight. That's gonna be Normal having to not worry about such a big ult coming out to this next fight. I do have the Cole and Visors coming in. The fan will fall. Dom pops the beat. It's gonna be a chaotic fight as Benno's coming back from the spawn doors. It's gonna be a nice Cole cancel. The Visor from Brad is to counter. And a dive coming in from the side of the Fallen. As the Visor's gonna be raining bullets. Not gonna be enough. No one is falling yet. Dom eventually will fall because there's gonna be an EMP coming in, hitting both members of Normal there in the White Room. As this fight's gonna still be going on, but Zindai Fan's gonna be the last one to remain along with the fan. And Benno gets out. And it's going to be another long fight, and it's going to be 60% and counting now for the Fallen. You get a Meteor Strike back, you get a Cole. It's going to be a very, very scrappy fight coming up for this last fight.
That is a really big fight for the Fallen to win. You know, they did use EMP and they did use Beat. However, they also did get out Coalescence and Noon. So really, their only worry is Beat and Mines.
Yeah, and it's going to be a Pulse and Meteor Strike invested onto Lucio, but he's able to right on the walls. He's quite slippery as Kynan does not able to get the charge punch off as they do fall. It's going to be Zafan finding Dex, and the rest of the members of the Fallen here do not really going to be able to get a decent recontest. And that should be at this point going to Normal as 10 was able to just play safe, keep the team up, and Wander was not able to get their Coalescence off, or at least to get the value that you needed there, Detri. And I think for Normal, that's your roughest point on Lijiang, so now it's going to be a little bit easier.
Yeah, you know, being a Doom comp, definitely going to be a rough one on that point. Yeah, you're constantly going to end up being split from your team. There's so many corridors where you're not going to have LOS from supports. You got to just continue to stay stacked and know when to get out and stop chasing. As you saw at the end there, kind of did go for the charged punch on Zindai fan, Zindai fan, and wasn't able to find it, and then just got picked right after. So you got to play stacked here. You gotta play fast.
What's really interesting to me is that while this fight's gonna be starting up, how do you think the Sombra from Benno differs from like the Brad Soldier here? Because they're kind of playing similar styles. As I think Zindai got a boop onto Dom. But nonetheless, I feel like the Soldier with like the Helix Rockets, the burst damage is really good to help out the dives. As Benno, if you lose your Translocator, you're gonna fall. Just like right now, as Zindai finds another, Dex gets cleaned up, and there's only a Doomfist left for the side of the Fallen, and Wander falls as well. That's just a clean fight from Zindai. They're getting 3.
Yeah, and as you were saying, I mean, you're better off running Cass, right? Sombra's not going to get too much value. You're not really... How many times are you actually going to get a hack off with a Soldier spamming you, a Tracer spy checking you, and a Ball just, you know, rolling away or still getting out with full HP? You don't have enough to burst that Ball playing this comp, so what's the point of Sombra? Play the Cass, play for the fan, and that's a big boop! Finding Kynan off the map. No abilities to get back on.
You slam already was just over. As now Creeps finds 2. This fight's already over for the Fallen. And Wander might just get staggered. Fade out. Dom finds Zindai fan on the boop. It's a boop city on Lijiang Tower tonight, Tetri. As it's going to be Zafan finding Dom, and it's just going to be more of a chaotic fight, kind of getting close to another Meteor Strike here. Uses the block already, Slam, forces out the recall from Dex, staying close to the Pulse Bomb. Wonder has a Coalescence, deciding not to use it as everyone's going to be stuck in the Mega Room here near the side of the map. Wonder finally pops the Coalescence, but it might be too late as you're still down a member as Brad running around 10 to 1 HP as well. It's going to be a Slam from Creep, Pulse comes out from the fan, hits the floor. Benno falls, and it's going to be a longer stall here from Normal, just trying to stabilize, get a few more slam engages in, as Kynan misses a punch, gets a face full of mines, as it's going to be around last fight territory here, as you have to disengage if you're the Fallen, and you're still getting pitched out here, Detri.
Yeah, staying in this fight a little too long here. You just want to try to regroup with your team. I haven't actually noticed a stabilize call from the Fallen, and you see Coalescence coming out from Normal. Creep does end up getting picked by Pulse Bomb from Dex, kind of finding some Dave fans.
Just jumps into the punch. Brad pops by to get one. Will get shut down as a fan finds one. If you can get Dex here, maybe? But no, it's a nice punch from Kynan, and that should be the fight's finally over. But Creep comes in to touch, but points already been flipped here. And I think now you're just wasting time if you're Normal. You already, yeah. I don't know about that one. No.
Yeah, a lot of staggering. You really just both sides need to start regrouping and playing a little bit more to get full team fights. Yeah, the fight's not ending. And that is an Ajax boop off the map.
Oh my goodness! What? Creep gets the I'm just Ajax on via a boop kill in this economy, Detri?
Yeah, I'm in awe right now. Dom did just, I think, go off the map again. I'm unsure if that was right out of spawn or if that was a rollout, or if they were just too shocked about what just happened.
Oh my god.
That is a big Ajax.
What the hell?
But then you do see Creep following it up with the 3K.
Yeah, it's just perfect execution there. You realize, oh hey, their Lucio's gone. He's off the map. You beat for the EMP, by the way, and then Zindai fan is looking for the target, and
wow,
the beat change where you fall faster might have just sent Dom to their demise a little bit faster. And that's gonna be your map 1, Detri, and I think if you're the Fallen, I think your main issue there was just never leaving those fights. You just kept trying to fight it.
Just kept staying in it, keep trying to fight it instead of trying to regroup as a team and get organized dive out. You know, you're not going to see any results if you just are constantly fighting down one person every time.
And like you'd think the Doom comp would be better at it. Like compared to most comps, the Doom comp would have better stability coming back fast. But you're running into a ball soldier who somehow matches it, even maybe a little bit better, as Normal's able to just take that one, being able to take these scrappy fights with a little few more off angles being taken, and you know Zindai fan just having a performance on both maps, getting boop kills left and right.
Yeah, very true.
And now it's gonna be hybrid next Detri as what do
you know,
against Normal here?
I'm expecting. I honestly don't even know. Oh,
JR?
there's King's Row. Okay.
Yeah, well,
I was going to say, I don't even know if it will
results.
be King's Row, but considering the fact that they want to play this Doom comp. Doom is not the greatest on King's Row, you know? He's not terrible, but there's definitely better options.
Yeah, Normal most likely gonna stick to the ball. So, what would you run personally here if you're playing into this kind of ball setup on the side of the Fallen? Do you try to like switch it out into a poke style, make them come to you, or do you just try to somehow get
I'd play Orisa,
hmm
Torb, and Cass.
Oh, just Giga Bunker?
Giga Bunker with a BAP up on height with a honestly, I'd go double FS at this point. Maybe even a Juno Brig.
Ana? Oh, Juno Brig actually.
Or a Juno Ana. Yeah, Juno Brig just, you know, to live a little bit more
I
for
didn't
the
know
support line.
a lot of sustain for sure.
Right,
As
but
I
you
mean,
know, Juno Ana would be a little difficult to build those ultimates if you have 2 flex supports.
yeah.
So thinking Juno Brig might be a little bit better.
Yeah, I think I agree. And with the Orisa Brawl too, if you need to. I mean, we saw that Juno Brig being meta for at least a decent amount of time earlier in the year. So I could definitely see that coming out, but we're just gonna have to figure out what the Fallen are gonna try and play as. We go into King's Row here eventually, and okay. I'm not gonna lie. I'm still focused on that Ajax boop. What is?
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. I do not blame you.
Did someone in Twitch chat clip that? Can we get that running for the production team? Not like Caustic doing, but can we get like someone in the Twitch chat to do that? Just post it, and that'd be great. And also,
Oh,
okay, problem.
no, no, okay, they're on attack. They're on attack. They're on attack.
Okay.
So they're gonna change.
I do. Okay, it's pretty much only the only swaps we're gonna see here from the Fallen are going to be Benno and Deck going over to the Soj Genji. Normal is hard trolling us. I hope.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I still don't understand, the Doom pick, especially on defense. I'm curious to see how kind of makes it work. The Moira as well, your Soj is going to be an easy target. It's going to be difficult. These are I don't know if these are one-trick players or what's going on, but you might have to be willing to make some swaps here.
This is a fan locking the. Is it just for the sonar? Looks like it is. That fan's gonna be upstairs emoting in front of the spawn. And it's going to be Brad going over to the Reaper. Okay. Not what I expected, to say the least, as Creep's still going to be in the ball, and could be a little bit of a weird engage as Benno finds a fan.
Yeah,
and
we're going to see a swap from Zaf here now.
Yeah, it has to be. And Kainan finds that. The Creep is able to get Benno, and if you play it safe for a moment, you'll be able to get a nice recontest on the point before the Fallen can make it over, but I do not understand the... And it's a fan of the Widow now. I don't understand it. The Reaper Widow, it's a little confusing. And
okay, a little upset that he didn't hit those shots. Swapping
Yep.
over to the Tracer now. But yeah, it seems like the Fallen are kind of all over the place, but so are Normal. So it's working, they're both all over the place. And then the second they actually are grouped up all in one spot, getting an organized dive, they get the team kill.
Yeah, and now it's gonna be a quick cap for Normal as we do see a swap. Sorry, I had a hiccup there. Is Nick's gonna take the Tracer Mirror, and Kainan will finally go to the Queen as their roster profile picture selected. As it
Okay. Yeah, that was some poor maxing.
hit him with the heroic, did not work. And now Zafan's gonna be taking the soldier, not the Brad, as
Wow.
a nice deflect there from Benno. Okay. And yeah, this is just weird. I'm not gonna lie. We got Normal going back to spawn creep 1 HP, and now Zafan's over to the Bastion, and it looks like Fallen are going for a kind of spawn hold here. But
Huge Bastion form.
yeah, I mean, it's gonna zone out the rest of the members of the Fallen, but not for long, as Kainan just comes back in with a vengeance, trying to find Zendifan getting into spawn. They do. The Lucia gets away. Creep finds Benno, and now you should be able to get another fight started here momentarily as your Bastion is going to swap over to May for Zafan. Zendai falling low, and Normal should just be able to start getting position and collapse onto Kainan, and yep, there you go.
You just want to hold as close as you can to get a long stall out, and there's mines forced.
Yeah, I mean, you're not complaining though if you're Normal. It's 1-0, I suppose. But you do have to worry about the 5 coming in here from the side of Fallen as Zendai. Well, Frogger-like activities right now, beating into the backline and getting instantly shut down.
Okay, so mines and beat.
That's a little worse, as the Brad is... What is... I'm sorry, the beat?
It feels like a lot of trolling going on.
Just a little bit. It's gonna be a beat engage coming in from the side of the Fallen. Benno looking for a potential blade opportunity here. There's a nice deflect there, and gonna get Dom running in. But it's gonna be a Blossom Coal in the back line. Spin to win as 10 and Brad gonna get the 4K. And Brad then gets a cleanup with the 5th and final pick on the decks. And this should just be a 2-point cap here and get around 4.5 minutes on the board. No to really contest this cap if the Fallen were to be able to make it, as they have a blade. And Cole, as Benno finds Zendifan, able to get the touch off the dash reset, and you should be fine for now.
No, Queen ult coming in. I can smell it.
No, it's gonna be the blade, Cole.
Blade and Cole. Okay, that's better. That's better.
Actually, yeah, that's actually a lot better.
I'm glad they didn't use Queen as well. Right.
Yeah. And now it's gonna be
the
Brad.
in that situation, it's very easy to overuse because you just want to touch.
Yeah, and now, I mean, for the side of Normal, you have Zafan going over the Pharah, gonna help poke out maybe the Kynan and Benno a little more, but they have 2.5 minutes, and Normal is kind of just toying with their prey, I guess? I don't know how to describe it. It's a little weird.
No, I think that's perfect, honestly.
As Kynan
But
finds in
how
there,
much of it is actually toying with them or just,
bro.
yeah. Y-
Yeah,
you gotta find a line here between proper match etiquette and having some fun.
Yeah. As Benno trying to survive, Kynan gets a nice rampage.
Really
Finding
big
Zafan with the
rampage.
help of Dex, and it's going to be 2 down for the side of Normal. Kynan will fall low, but you should be able to salvage this fight and win it if you are the Fallen. You're down your tank, but you should be okay. Creep, however, getting close to these mines. Brad getting close to another Blossom, as the Orb from Wander will keep Benno alive, fighting this Reaper in the backline. Dex is not able to get the confirm at all, as the members of Normal should be coming back to stabilize quickly here, as both Reaper and Warrior use their cooldowns to get us away. The Wraith and the Fade not going to be enough to escape, as Dex and Benno will get the cleanup with the higher mobility of the Genji and Tracer. Creep finally has to disengage, and Normal have finally, they've stopped for like 2 seconds, as they have 3 ults coming in.
Yeah, Benno played that really well. Didn't overextend when unnecessary and just kind of kept them out from touching the point, getting that pressure on point with when they were down their tank. Really well done by Benno there.
Yep.
Mine's
And,
coming out on point by
nice
Creep.
boop to delay the mines, though, as Benno goes in the backline with the blade, finds 2. Force out the Fade, doesn't get rolled over by Creep, and should be Brad basically just falling onto point. Had a runway from the Genji, ran into the rest of the Fallen, as now you got both support ults coming up. Dex has a pulse, and you only have to worry about the Cole and Blossom, as we saw 2 swaps that I forgot to mention. The fan going over to the cast and Ana for a Zendai fan here, Destry. What do you think this is the purpose of this one for?
Honestly, I'm assuming it's going to be for Nano. Like, trying to build a Nano for the Reaper and just sending the Reaper in. That's the only thing that makes sense here because, the Benno is putting in a lot of work here in the back line. I don't know why else they would go on it.
Down pops the beat, Wander pops the Cole. Benno falls low, Brad gets the first pick, has a Blossom link for that back line. And they're going to be able to get in there. Wander fades out, but everyone's falling low. Dom and Wander both 1 HP, kind of not able to get their care because of the Blossom zoning out the rest of the back line. 10 seconds go here, 4-second point, as Dex will probably have a touch. Dom will die to buy a little more time, but you have a Nano and High Noon. You should be able to get this cap relatively easily. But that is a nice hold on second, forcing OT. Benno does fall, but you have a minute and a half to hold. Now this is a potential overtime hold, at least for the side of the Fallen. And Dex is not in the best situation right now.
No, you got 2 looking you. You got to either die or just, play really far back and then go in with your team all at once.
Yeah, as kind of getting close to another rampage, Benno goes over to the Cassidy. It's going to be a little more difficult to, it's going to be a little more difficult to live against the full dive, but Brad's going to get Nano, Creep pops the mines in the back lane. It's going to be basically a map flip here, as kind of gets a nice rampage, helps find 2, make that 3, and now it's just Creep and the Brad left. They have to disengage, as Cart gets a little extra progress from the Reaper. And
Okay, was that a boop kill or was that a boop environmental kill?
I think it was just the boop damage? I don't know. As this fight's still going, by the way, the Brad finds 3 in the Mega Room, and okay, kind of finds 10, but you're able to make a hero play if you're the Brad. You just killed 4, make it 5. Everyone's running on this Reaper 1 by 1, and hey, didn't he just use Blossom?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like we're playing Stadium here.
So another die ready and loaded for the side of Normal, as Benno gets bursted out. Dex launched the pulse, not going to find a target. The fan zoning out the point with the side of the High Noon, and even if you try to stop him, you have a death loss coming in. 3 people get hit by the beat there by Dom. Wander getting close to this Coalescence, trying to stall for a little longer. You do get OT for the side of the Fallen, at least for this hold. But Brad has another Blossom, 10 pops to Coalescence of their own. Benno not going to really be able to do much here in face of 2 shotguns. But you hold it to OT at least. That's not bad after the first point, but was looking a little rough.
Yeah, no, that's really well done by the Fallen to get them to overtime. You just want to cap with over a minute just to guarantee either a draw or a win. That's the best scenario, right? However, you get a overtime hold. It puts you in a good mental spot. You definitely can make that offense a little bit better than what they just witnessed. So This is pretty much. I mean, if you go down 2 maps, it's very difficult to recover from that. So, the Fallen has to really lock in here.
Yeah, and also I think what really did normal in on that time bank was the little bit of trolling, as we saw Fan being the main culprit, going in
Yeah,
for a few
yeah,
interesting
just a bit,
plays.
just a bit.
Just a wee bit.
Couple of emotes, couple of
Couple of
emotes.
emotes, a couple of solo beats in the back line, as
Yep.
we have a pause,
You know,
probably a
typical Lucio
DC,
things.
or a few tech issues, as probably gonna be sticking this Queen Tom here from the side of Kynan, and if you can play like with maybe a Cassidy, be able to walk in a little more just sustain with a shout, you could be able to walk down maybe the Brad, if depending on what he goes, or force out creep, because ball is killable eventually, but we'll have to just see as we wait for the technical difficulty as we go back into King's Row momentarily.
Yeah, no, you know, I'm wondering how much of a threat, Creep is actually being on ball, or whether or not it's the disruption that he's causing and then just allowing the Reaper to just kind of wraith in, fade in, whatever,
Kind
TP
of
in,
both.
and just finish whatever he started.
Yeah. I feel like it's kind of a mix of both. Like, we see Creep in the first map getting a lot of kills with the pile drive, a lot of just, nice little shots onto opposing flankers. But with the disruption, it's kind of what Normal's whole game plan is. When you just are able to get the Brad and Zafan in the backline, and hell, even 10 gets in there a little bit with the Moira. So I guess we'll just have to see. It's kind of just a. I'm not gonna lie, this is one of the weirder two matches I think I've casted so far.
Yeah, I agree, and I think if there's really not much of a threat besides the ball. If the Fallen starts ignoring the ball, then I could totally see like cross my heart and hope to die. I could totally see a Mercy Pharaoh working here.
Honestly, yeah,
They
you're
have
right.
nothing. They have nothing to really shoot until Zaf swapped over to the cast at the end of the match there. Um, So I don't know if they want to open up on that, see if they can get early damage out, or just scout a little bit first to verify before they come out on the Pharah. You have Ball, you have Reaper, and you had what was it, Tracer for a lot of the time. So
Yeah,
think about it: who's going to be shooting a Pharah and a Mercy up in the sky? Well, that's going to have to be the supports. So
yeah.
then at
I
that
mean,
point, the rest of the team just wants to kind of play stacked on top of each other and live as long as they can.
yeah. I mean, you also have members of well, you have like 10 on the Moira. I mean, if you do go to the pharmacy for the side of the Fallen, Moira's basically a snipe. Like, off topic, like Moira's
Yeah,
damage
yeah,
range
you're
is
not
kind of
you're not wrong.
absurd.
You're not wrong. It is, but then again, you're not gonna be able to kill them because Farah can just turn you and double shot you. You're dead. Mercy can just carry the Farah if you're shooting the Farah. Mercy can, you guys can kite out. They can force you out maybe for a quick second, but you're at least gonna force something out of the Moira, which then your team can use to their advantage. So I don't know. It's a tough one. I also am curious to see if we're going to see the Reaper on the defense and the Ball on the defense. I mean, like you said, did we see Creep play anything other than Ball?
Most likely not. I don't think I've seen. I might be going crazy. I think I might have seen a Ram one time, but that was like. I think that might be me imagining things.
Understood. Well, this is a long pause. Do we know what is what is going on here? Or is it
Producer.
just technical issues?
Well, this is a pause unlike any of the others.
Not a technical difficulty.
Not a technical difficulty. I guess I'll kind of
Huh.
switch over to this just kind of for a little bit of the funny fact of you seeing, you know, Junkrat just kind of laying down and enjoying his time during this pause. Um,
Yeah.
so the reason for the pause is because there's been a ticket that's been made
Oh.
regarding one of the players BMing, as I will say,
Uh-huh.
put it
I
simply.
mean,
I mean,
that's not wrong.
Yeah,
Fan was huh. All
I
right. I mean,
don't
I guess that'll be it. Do we want to just throw it to timer for a little bit?
Well,
I,
that's a damn good question.
I kind of
You
do
know,
need to
because
go use the bathroom. Not gonna lie.
as you know, as we mentioned earlier in the stream, I don't mean to cut you off, Dusty. If you want to go, if you need to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom. I got it for now.
Yeah, yeah,
But
you got that, Detry. I'm gonna be back.
but
Cool.
as I was mentioning earlier, you know, there's a fine line between um, you know, etiquette for a match and then having some fun, right? You definitely can aura walk here or there. That's fine, but some BM beats or whatever it may be, just some BM situations, doing it consistently throughout the whole match, it can definitely be frustrating. Um, so we like to keep it, you know,
Now,
a fun environment for everybody, right?
to be fair, and I will say this just ahead of time, considering, I mean, we did mention, a ticket being made. A ticket being made does not necessarily mean set in stone that there
Right.
is, this doesn't mean it's a guaranteed scenario, right?
Right.
It just means that the concern of it potentially being a situation is being brought up. And I mean, with that, we don't have the decision yet. We can't necessarily say, I mean, on the stream side of things, we don't have the capabilities to say,
Now, but
yes,
the
they
question
did or no,
is,
they
do we
didn't. So,
want to just play this out and then worry about the result later down the line, behind the scenes, right? Play it out. If a decision's made, you know, we can see what needs to be done afterwards, right? That's what I'm thinking in my mind. So we don't keep the stream waiting. You know, I'm not sure how we do it, but I feel like that's
um,
how it should be done. You know,
All
not
right,
mid
so I'm gonna
match.
chime. I'm gonna chime in here. So the rule book policy says that if bad mannering occurs during a match and you are not okay with it, please create a ticket immediately. If any bad mannering that occurs after this request result in a match forfeit.
Okay, so we will be continuing basically and keeping an eye on things. Understood. Um, that makes sense. I mean, I guess now at this point we're just waiting on both teams to say R. But going into the attack on King's Row here for the Fallen, you know, we did see the Junkrat. I'm not sure if that's just a little troll pick to get up to the height, whatever it may be, just something to emote, whatever it is. That it would be interesting. You know, you definitely see teams playing Junkrat on King's Row because King's Row is not a bad Junkrat map. It's actually decent. I mean, you can ask Remix, you can ask even Philo Overwatch. He will play Junkrat on King's Row every time. But you know, I
Philo is
also don't
Philo,
expect
though,
much
to
to
be fair.
change. Yeah, Philo is Philo. I mean,
Philo's a special. Philo's their own breed. I mean, if you've
Winton.
seen Dusty chiming in as well, if you've seen
I'm back.
Philo or Philo, however it is you want to pronounce it,
Oh, the aura farming?
if you've seen them on their Twitter, it's chaos.
I remember the TD game.
So
The
yeah, I can
NJC.
confirm the match will continue.
Okay.
However, it is the ticket has been made to address the situation. Obviously, depending on what happens with the ticket, that'll determine the result of the match after the continuation today. But at the same time, we also have it so if there seems to be another instance of BM or anything like that, we are going to keep an eye on it to hopefully address it so that we don't have to worry about multiple tickets for one match. Basically, if there's another situation where BM is kind of applicable after the ticket has been made, the match is a forfeit temporarily, at least. I can't necessarily set anything in stone, but that's my understanding.
All right. So we're coming back in, Detry, to King's Row on to the second round. It's going to be most likely the Queen comp once again for the side of the Fallen. As, I mean, Normal is not really gonna change anything up. I'm confused on how you're gonna get Brad value. Is you just gonna be playing in the corners and the shadows? Or is it
Yeah.
gonna be more of a, I
Yeah.
don't know.
I'm not like I said. I'm not sure how they're gonna play the ball in the Reaper on the defense. So
Maybe more a front to back style? I don't know, but there's your pharmacy, Detry.
there's the pharmacy. They are listening.
They're watching stream.
Very, very, very good choice here. I mean, really, what is going to shoot you? You could just consistently do damage to everybody. You just really got to bunker down, and you do see the Reinhardt for that, the Soj for that. Unfortunately, Dex does fall because he does go in by himself, but we do get a res out.
The Brad finds
Brad
too.
does find Wander.
Zendai gets Dom, and Brad just been sitting in the movie theater, and he's not leaving. Not at all. And it's going to be an interesting hold here, as I think Benno is going to go off of the Pharah now as Dom switches. But no, it's going to be actually a swap from Kynan going over to the Diva to help out Benno a little bit. Dex going over to the Widow. And Creep will fall. The ball will finally die in this
That's a
series.
big pick. You know, you really just got to try to be aware of where this Reaper is playing. And Brad does get a pick on Benno, but Dom does find Zindai, which is also a huge pick.
But Wander falling low. Brad is just... No one's turning it around! What is this? He's just walking in the back line. Having a fun little time.
You really gotta start finding this Reaper. You gotta start scouting.
And Brad is beating Zafan in ult charges. Zafan's on Tracer, by the way. This Reaper gaming is quite absurd as... Oh no, Kynan. Kynan's demeched in the back of the normal defense. Can the baby diva get away? Yeah, but not for long. No, boy. Kynan is fighting for his life right now, but it's too late.
Just when they're about to get mech back.
This is just unfortunate. Like, you had the right idea, you got the early picks, but you gotta mark the Brad. Before you do any kind of engage, you need to get the Brad out of there. Otherwise, you're going to at least lose one, it seems. As he's trying to get away. Maybe the hack? No. And now, Detry, what do you do here? As Normal's getting 5 ults, maybe a Coalescent from 10 to engage. One is falling low, and you're forced back into your spawn room here.
Yeah, you know, they're really just keeping the pressure up, and they're honestly just getting so split by the Reaper in the backline. If you just start scouting the Reaper, forcing them out, after Wraith, you can go in and make a difference.
Yeah, and now it's just like this spawn hold's so close, and you got the Brad trying to run away. The Reaper might finally fall over. You can go with the EMP right now, and there you go! 4 on the menu.
Where's the team? Where's the rest of the team?
They're all stuck back in the spawn.
See, that's the problem. They're getting so split, chasing different targets.
It's a nice pulse from Dex. You find 10, you get the remake with the bomb over on top, and you're investing so much just to get through first. And Normal still have 2 ults to recontest with the beat and the Blossom. But I lied, Brad's just gonna go for it. And I think that's gonna be wraps for the Reaper, as you're gonna have a few more seconds of stall as Zenifan comes in with the beat, keeping his fan up as well. Gonna be able to burn a little more time as 10 has to walk away, but it gives time for Creep to come back. Then you have no more ults, the fan's able to find Wander, and now you're all just stuck on pulling if you're the Fallen, and it's going to be pretty much easy pickings here for the side of Normal, as there's so many off angles. It's like 4 off angles each. As going to be a Coalescence from Dom, gets shut down by the Brad. The Reaper still in this background, putting in so much work. Dex finds Zendai, and it's just going to be a long fight. If you don't win this one now, Detry, you only have 10, not 10, but 20 seconds left. And Creep's just rolling him over.
You have no ults to work with either. You know, you might build a Pulse and you might build a Diva Bomb, but those are kind of your weakest ults in this scenario.
And now you're walking into the Pulse and Cole. Kynan does get their mech back. We have 5 seconds to touch. There's gonna be a slam in the spawn doors. Dom's gonna fall. You don't have anyone to touch. Actually, no! It's Wander, I think. No, it's Dex. As 10's gonna be able to get the clean up. Mine's on point. No more chance to stall. Normal gonna get pretty much the full hold. You got 2 ticks for the side of the Fallen, but I think you played that a little too fast, honestly.
Yeah, a little too fast, a little too split, you know.
Yeah.
You're never on. They were never on the same target. And the Pharah honestly was working. You were forcing them out of their positions, but then you have 3 people chasing a ball around the map. You know, you gotta
And the
You don't
Brad
want to
here just
chase. You want to keep that aggression on the front line.
yeah, and that's gonna be another pretty good map for the side of normal. And now it's looking very, very grim for the side of the Fallen as Detri. It's Flashpoint next, and it's a ball comp. Uh, I'm a little worried for the side of the Fallen here. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah,
Could be I
it's a tough one to come back from, but you know, Flashpoint can change it. At this point, you want to think, what is ball not good on, Saravasa or New Junk City? But in
I'd say
reality, ball can be played on either. It's just what's a little bit easier to work into, you know. Uh,
with the
Considering the
NJC.
high ground, I'm thinking Saravasa.
Really?
I'm thinking
That's
Sarah, yeah, because New Junk City, there's so many small corridors. They're just gonna all get dove at once.
I
Um,
suppose.
Whereas Saravasa, at least it's open. There's high ground. You know, somebody always has to be marking the high ground if somebody's set up on the height. There's angles to take. So I'm feeling Saravasa.
All right. I guess we're gonna have to find out as we have a quick 5-minute bio break coming into map number 3. Will it be 3 Overwatch for your Saturday night games? We'll have to just see as we will see you in a few minutes. Get some snacks, get some drinks. We might have a reverse sweep on the way. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our third map of the night, as Normal leads with a pretty dominant 2-0 currently as we go into Zaravasa, which is what you predicted, Detry. But let's see if it's going to work, as I mean, it's still the ball on Flashpoint. I think if I'm correct, y'all just saw the Leviathans game, where ball was played on this exact map.
It was, and that does make you wonder if this was the right map choice. However, you have to think about the angles that you could take, the less stacking in small corridors. First point for New Junk City would have almost been impossible into a ball, whereas the first point here can be played. You want to take the left lane, you want to take the long sight lines, you want to try to poke as much as you can, and then go in. Force the ball out, force the ball to go in early, and then just keep flipping.
Yeah. As now it's going to be the Queen comp coming out again from the Fallen, and it's going to be Benno on the Sombra again. It's just, I think one of the main issues also from the Fallen is that you had to make so many swaps throughout the series that
Yeah,
you can't really stay comfortable having to switch
100%.
up all your perks and
And I feel like this could work, except if you really want to play to blow up the ball, you might want to play a Sombra and a cast. Hack
Yeah.
the ball, fan the ball, flash the ball, anything to disrupt the ball.
At least Dex can get the chase down as Brad is going to fall over. Wander is going to be the trade. Benno has no TP to get away. 3 HP. A nice little run around on the edge of the pillar there, as the rest of the Fallen are going to get collapsed onto, but it's going to be a nice little trade. But both of your supports are just trying to survive, and Creep is able to get the cleanup with the help of Zafan. And it's just a nice rotation of Creep coming in. He's leaving, Zafan getting a quick clip in and getting a pick, and that just kind of repeated itself multiple times there.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed, but the Brad was playing that long sightline, like I mentioned, and if you start over there, the soldier won't have much value to add. So you can see them just constantly trying to push onto the Brad early every fight.
But now it's taken too long as you lose your Lucio. Tank gets traded out at least, but Benno goes down as well as the fan finding too early in this fight. The Brad finding another Dex trying to get the trade out. It's just that you get these trades, but Normal's comp is just faster. It's not even like a comms issue. It's just like their comp is objectively faster, more movement. As the Brad gets picked up by Kynan, the pulse. Oh, Dom ran into Kynan.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's going to be a tough retake here. It's still possible to get a touch. You're running the Tracer, you're running the Moira. You can.
Another pause. All right.
Another pause.
Unfortunate. Well, I mean, it's not. Wait, like that, dude. We're seeing glimmers of hope here. Like the Fallen is getting picks. I think you just either need to tighten it up or just run it down even faster. I don't know how you're gonna do it though.
Yeah, no, you definitely want to tighten up. You want to be playing. You want to be playing for the Tracer to mark the Tracer, and the other four to just play as a unit and go on one person, one at a time. The Moira isn't a bad pick. Fade can live into the ball, whatever it is, but the Moira is just getting split, caught off on rotation every time. Is constantly getting picked first, so it's tough for Tracer and Queen to get any value out of it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just if Dex can't mark this Zafan Tracer, it's kind of free reign because then Creeps gets free slams, and then it's gonna just be like what we saw in the first two fights there, as they kind of just get pieced up. Like you get a pick, let's say, but let's say you're running out of the Brad, you take like a solid 5-10 seconds to get over there, and that's a long rotation, and that's what Normal's looking to just jump on you. When you're already using all your cooldowns to move around, you can't escape the ball. So it's just, it's difficult.
I really do think that a maybe a Moira Brig or something different, just something to live a little bit more, mark the Tracer, mark the ball. I mean, like I said earlier, a Cass, if you really want to play to blow up the ball, you could play Cass Sombra and everybody can just go on him, right? Use all your abilities on him, but then what, right? You might be forced out of a good position. They're gonna have angles on you, whatever it may be. You really just have to figure out what you want to do here, and it seems like everybody has different ideas.
Yeah, and You need to go on one idea and just stick it at this point because you're running out of time. Like, how much more time do you just get? Because, yeah, let's say if normal wins this next fight, that's first flashpoint to them, and all the pressure is coming in. So it's just really rough, and I am really just you need to make switches and stick with them now, or otherwise, yeah, like I said already, I've got to repeat myself. This series might just be over.
Yeah. Um, you know, it's these ball comps. If you've got them in the bag, if you understand them right, then they're easy to play and they're hard to play into. However, if you know how to play against a ball team, they're
Yeah,
almost impossible to play. And that's simply because you can either play to blow up the ball or you can play to blow up the core.
yeah,
And like I said, it's just split ideas. Split ideas. And because of that, they're getting picked one by one. Um, and coming out of this first point, I really do expect to see some swaps from the Fallen, but I'm not 100% sure because we did see that on Kings Row and it didn't work in their favor either.
yeah. And like I like the idea of the Sombra. I think you just need something a little more to protect your back. Like it's a weird idea, but maybe something akin to the maybe a Czar to get the bubble and then just walk it down when you get charged. I don't know.
Honestly, that's not a bad idea for Slam. You can bubble somebody important,
Bubble
such
like
as your
your
Moira, so they don't have
Lucio.
to use Fade, your Lucio, in case Tracer and Ball are just tunnel visioning that, or, your if you're on cast, you could bubble your cast, and
Yeah,
Sombra can hack the ball, cast can flash the ball, and you can fan them out. Definitely not a bad option. Um,
yeah, we're coming back in.
oh, we are going back in.
Wow, we did just actually talk for that long. Dang. That's 10% now for the touch. Dex has a pulse bomb online. If you can stick potentially the Brad or Zendai here, that could be massive. But you're not gonna. Okay, no. Dex does get the touch at the last second. Benno should be able to get the next. As Kainan's getting bursted down before they can even make it in to the point. As the Queens are trying to fight for their life out here. Mines are on the point by creep, and it just no contest. Dex gets rolled over. Benno has to touch, and it's just one by one. Members of the Fallen, well, falling. And that's gonna be your first flashpoint going to Gardens next, I think. No? Ruins. Ruins.
I still don't even remember the names of them. I only know.
I
I
tried.
only know. I only know. Coast, whatever it's called.
Like Palace, I think.
Yeah.
Temple. One of the
Yeah,
two.
yeah, yeah. The one that is over by the Minion Coast. But we do see Coalescence
A
coming out.
ramp.
Ooh, a Rampage just to try to get that health back. Can maybe touch the Mega. Does touch the Mega. Doesn't find the pick.
I think it might just be free old charge for the support lineup here of normal. That's gonna be a nice carnage, but it's not gonna keep you alive as the Brad. There's a healing field down on the point. You have Zendai and 10. Too much healing. Not gonna be able to confirm. As gonna be the point flip going for normal. As you have EMP and Cole here for the Fallen. If you're able to push tempo just a little bit without falling, Benno could hit a huge EMP, as Zendai has been kind of sticking with Brad. You could just solo EMP him at this point.
Yeah,
As,
if you can hack him once, and then when he does get out of the hack cooldown, he can just re-EMP. Like right now would be.
Yeah. But everyone's kind of split. Zendai finds 2. It's going to be a 4-man EMP!
But you're already down
I don't know if there's
2.
going to be there to get the follow-up. It's a 3v4 now on the point. As creep falls low, but you can't really do much against the ball as the fan pulses Wander. And this fight's just going for so long. It's already 50% on the point. And now Kainan's going to get staggered here. Oh, that's just unfortunate. As you still have Dex falling and a Visor and Mines online for the side of normal. If you just hold up front here, hold this choke, realistically, you don't get a touch here if you are the Fallen, as Kainan's going over to the ball duel.
Oh. Oh.
It's not an awful idea. I can see the strategy for getting the touch at least. You're just gonna have to calm with Benno and Dex very, very well. As Dom pops a beat, try to get the touch. Creep coming into point here eventually as Zendai will fall. Mines are gonna be online. 10-1 HP. Dex does get both supports. If you can stall here for a little bit with Kainan, you might be enough, as it's going to be a 3v3 now on the point. Dex sticks the pulse onto the Brad. Creep runs into him. That taking that extra damage might be enough for the ball to fall. As Creep falls low, 200 HP. Zafan trying to stall as best as he can, but there is a ball and more on the point as Dom also goes over to the Juno for the recontest, a little bit of speed ring, a little bit of just better heals, as you're getting to be able to stall still for the side of Fallen. That's a very scrappy fight. Cole comes up from 10. This one's still going, kind of getting closer and closer to this minefield as this fight goes on, but the ball will finally fall. Overtime burns. You do get the touch from Dex, and this is still going. No more ults on the field so far, and it's going to be the side of Fallen trying to find anything here, but it's just going to be Creep rolling around, getting a slam. It's going to be Benno falling half. The missiles were enough to keep him alive for a second, but not long enough. Brad's going to be able to get the cleanup with the fan, and Brad gets 3. Actually, no, Brad gets 2, Zafan gets 2. And that's going to be your second point capped. And that was, you almost had it there if you're the Fallen. Just almost.
Yeah, you know, I feel confident in the ball v ball. They're just, you know, they have more sustain with the ball. You know, more health. Can get out for megas and allow the DPS to just put in the work.
Yeah. Well, now it's going to be a quick pulse from Zafan. Finds Wander. The thing, Moyer already used the pulse on the fade. And now Dex is going to follow Zendai, and it's going to be a pretty early point cap as kind of just, you know, rolling into walls, trying to get as much fireball damage as he can. But Normal will get the cap, and with how long these fights have been going, you get, what, 1, 2 more fights to your Detri as you're walking into 3 or 4 ults from the side of Normal?
Yeah, at the rate of how these fights are going, I'm assuming too. You know, they're very long and drawn out, so I could see 2 fights, but you definitely don't want to dump all your ults in one basket if you're the Fallen.
And now if you're the side of Benno, you need to build this EMP fast, because I was going to say you need to shut down the B, but it's too late. Visor comes out from Brad as well, kind of trying to get the boob. That's going to be a coalescence from Wander as well. The Fallen are investing everything they can. That's Pulse Ball as well. Benno still has the EMP online if you need a bit of a clutch factor. Mine's coming out from Creep. They get shut down by the EMP. It hits 3. Zafan falls. Benno gets traded out. Both balls falling to half HP as this point's still going to be going. Zafan will fall as it's still... Actually, they fell a little bit ago. That's the earlier comment that I made. As 10 getting close to this, they have this coalescence. They're not going to use it, however, they don't need it. This fight's still going 80%. If you lose now, it's pretty much lights out. Kynan and Wander both so far in. It's going to be the solo call to make sure no one gets to survive. And that's 1 fight, 1 point, and that's going to be your series win. As Normal takes a 3-0.
That was an even longer fight than expected, making
Yeah.
only 1.
Oh my.
You know, it was really well done, but unfortunately they just couldn't find any picks fast enough. So everybody that when they eventually did get the picks, the next person was back.
Yeah. And that's gonna be your series. Pretty dominant one from Normal. And the worst part is I saw glimmers of hope there from the side of the Fallen. It was just too little too late, I think. And now it's gonna be a quick 3-0, but who do we give MVP here? Let's just get that out of the way quickly. Maybe the Brad?
Yeah.
Had a great performance on the Reaper, had a good overall performance on the Soldier, made everyone cheer for him.
Definitely would have to go to the Brad. You know, the constant 4Ks, 3Ks, hell, even the aces.
Yeah.
Definitely would have to go to the Brad. Really well done by Normal. And yeah, it's a 3-0 for Normal.
Keep it short tonight. 3 Overwatch for your Saturday. Week 4, the halfway point of the first season of Nebula is now over. As we're going into week 5, teams are truly starting to show themselves in the standings. And with that, I think we're going to keep it short and sweet. I am your caster, Dusty. My co-caster is Detri. Our producer is Caustic. This is Nebula. And with that, I bid you all a good night.